Okay, thank you, everyone. Again, my name is Millicent Walker. I am the Executive Director of Stonebridge Healthy Community Outreach Initiative, and this is part 2 of our third annual, Diabetes Awareness Seminar Series. Sorry. And let me advance my slides. Stonebridge Healthy Community Outreach Initiative was founded by our illustrious founder, Ms. Ollie D. Smith. She was a retired school teacher, and in memory of her parents, Penny and Willie Smith, who were the proud parents of 12 children, she founded Stonebridge Healthy Community Outreach Initiative. In 1963, unfortunately, Ms. Ollie lost her father at the age of 54 due to complications of diabetes. Ms. Ollie was diagnosed with diabetes along with 9 of her 11 siblings, 3 of which are deceased. By aggressively changing her diet and developing a regimen of taking vitamin supplements and incorporating exercise into her daily routine, Ms. Ollie was successful to manage her diabetes and render her a better quality of life. Due to her success, Ms. Ollie became passionate about teaching and helping others diagnosed with diabetes or at risk change their habits to develop a healthier lifestyles. At Stonebridge Healthy Community Outreach Initiative, our mission is to bring awareness, prevention, and restoration of lifelong health solutions for diabetes and other chronic conditions to families and communities. Our overarching goal is to educate individuals by providing quality information and services that address individual needs in order to manage, prevent, and or reverse chronic conditions. Our objectives are to help participants modify their lifestyles through educational resources such as plant-based nutrition, economic stability, physical activity, spiritual wellness, social connectedness, mental health, and creativity. Why are we interested in providing these resources and information to the public? To bridge the gap between education and health disparities, as well as to provide access to healthcare and affordable quality food, to empower communities by providing them with the tools that will aid them in making the best lifelong decisions and prevent the development or worsening of chronic conditions, to teach individuals the dynamics of meal preparation as part of their life skills and self-management training, to creatively inspire children to make healthier food choices during their developmental stages, to help people heal from their chronic diseases by providing them with resources, compassion, and hope. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Karen Evans to introduce Ms. Lisa A. Smith.
Good morning. Welcome to Stonebridge Healthy Community Outreach Initiative. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm so excited because we have 3 boat burners on board with us today. Like Cortez in the 16th century, when he arrived with his ships and his men in the New World, they burned their boats, meaning no retreat. We are only moving forward. So with having said that, let me introduce Ms. Lisa Angel Smith, who is a highly sought after coach and speaker, specializing in taking a whole food plant-based approach to preventing and reversing chronic lifestyle diseases. She holds a bachelor's degree in psychology and an MBA. She is certified in plant-based nutrition, the author of the Plant-Based Foodie Recipe Book, and the creator of 4 proprietary frameworks. She is also the creator of the plant-based coaching program, Farm to Table, and of the plant-based coaching certification, the Plant Protocol. Lisa founded the Black Health Academy in 2017, whose mission is to eradicate the most common chronic diseases, which disproportionately impact communities of color. For bookings or to learn more about Lisa and what she offers, please visit her website at www.lisaangelsmith.com.
I think that's my cue, right, Karen?
Yes, it is.
Hey, good morning, good morning, good morning, everyone. It is a pleasure to be here. I'm going to share my screen. Thank you to Karen. Thank you to Stonebridge and everyone who's here this morning. First of all, I just got to give a shout out to the audience because I have at least 15 people from my community here in the audience. So I just want to shout out everyone here who found out about the program through the Black Health Academy or Farm to Table. I just really appreciate you guys coming in and showing up to come get this health. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. So I don't know if Stonebridge, if you want to stop sharing and we can get into it. Perfecto. Thank you. So it's a pleasure to be here with you all this morning. As Karen mentioned, I specialize in taking a whole food plant-based approach to chronic lifestyle diseases. And the one we're going to talk about today, of course, type 2 diabetes is a big one. So I'm super excited to share with you how we can combat this chronic condition through dietary measures. So you'll learn a little more about me as we go. So listen, I want to make sure you guys get everything you came for today. So as I am teaching, feel free to drop your questions in the chat or save them for the end. I will make time for Q&A at the end. And then those of you who stay on to the end, I'm actually going to be inviting you to my complimentary masterclass, How to Combat a Sugar Addiction. So I'll have a link for you for that at the end of today's presentation, How to Combat a Sugar Addiction. So let's get into it. I am Lisa A. Smith, a whole food plant-based vegan, and I full out slang plants for a living. I don't do anything else, y'all. All I do is teach how to slang plants for a living, meaning how do I take a whole food plant-based protocol and live optimally? How do I optimize my life through my diet? Well, I'm going to show you how to do that today with diabetes. So first, I want to start off addressing the top 10 causes of death in the US. I love this list because it really highlights to us our biggest challenge here in the US. So this is the most recent data from the CDC. And what it's showing is the top 10 causes of death in the United States. And what I want to point out is that at least 7 out of 10 of them are lifestyle diseases. So we are not majority dying and passing away prematurely from things that are outside of our control, but rather things that are very much within our control. And of course, on this list, we see diabetes, right? So diabetes is one of the top 10 leading causes of death in the US. Now, what's similar that you're going to hear in my presentation today that I highlight are two things on here that I think are not a coincidence, because there are some potential complications with having diabetes for many, many years. And two of those are, one, kidney failure. So we see that in the top 10. And the second is cognitive decline when it comes to dementia. And so I don't think it's a coincidence that diabetes is on here along with two things that in which your risk of them are increased when you have diabetes. So when you are battling type 2 diabetes, it increases your risk for kidney failure in addition to cognitive decline or dementia. And we know Alzheimer's is the #1 cause of dementia. I'm going to talk a little more about that a little later, but I wanted to point that out. These are lifestyle conditions that we actually have power to combat. We have power to combat. So this leads us to what's called disease of affluence. So many, 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 many years ago, in the early 1900s, the top 3 killers in our US were things like undernutrition, malnutrition, infectious disease, things that we hadn't yet developed treatments for, right? But what we see today is that now majority of individuals are dying from man-made diseases and chronic lifestyle disease. Overnutrition. So before we weren't getting enough sustenance. Now we're getting too much. Lifestyle diseases. And so this is a result of our lifestyle, meaning we can afford our diseases. And so the pandemic of chronic disease can be attributed to the universal shift towards a more animal-based diet and ultra-processed food. So animal-based diet includes meat, eggs, dairy, seafood, and then excess amounts of salt, oil, sugar, and refined grains. So before, it was just that our technology and our medicine hadn't advanced yet. But now, even with antibiotics, even with advances in medicines and procedures, we are still seeing people die at an astronomical amount from things that are preventable. And so we're going to talk about what that looks like today. But first, I want to go over a few of these lifestyle diseases, because again, I specialize in taking a whole food, plant-based approach to lifestyle diseases. And what I want to make sure you guys are super clear on before we move forward is what exactly lifestyle disease is. So I'm going to name a few of them here. But in short, the definition is a lifestyle disease is a condition, a chronic condition. And in this case, chronic is 3 months or longer. It's a chronic condition that results from the way in which a person lives their life. So that's the exercise regimen, that is the stress level, that's what they're smoking or drinking. And of course, it's what they're eating, right? So there's multiple components that consume our lifestyle. So here's a couple of things that we have seen in our culture as a result of lifestyle. Heart disease, number one cause of death. Over 700,000 people die a year. Obesity, cognitive impairment or dementia, hypertension, chronic inflammation, high cholesterol, fatty liver disease, chronic kidney disease, autoimmune disease, and of course, type 2 diabetes. So all of these conditions, and there's more we could add, can be significantly impacted, prevented, in some cases reversed as a result of changing our lifestyle. And the number one thing we can do that we can all start today is by what we eat. So our diet is the top cause of premature death and disability. Now, what you see on the screen are really common meals in the US, right? This is American food, burgers and fries, potato chips, and different types of greasy snacks, our beloved soul food. Now, that's an intentional picture. I want y'all to know that. Like, I fully recognize that we're coming up, like we're 2 steps away from Thanksgiving. So I came here to step on some toes this morning. Let me be very clear about that. I don't know if Karen warned y'all ahead of time, if Stonebridge warned y'all, but I tend to step on toes. Thank goodness this is a virtual presentation, because everybody's feet would be hurting if we was in person. So I'm calling y'all out today, okay? So these are the foods that are causing the conditions that we are battling that we don't have to, y'all, that we don't have to. And so I know there's a lot of temptation coming up as we move forward into November and December and the new year, but I want to show you how we can change what we eat to change our health outcomes. So here's the takeaway. It's estimated that nearly 70% of Americans take at least one prescription drug. And while our life expectancy has increased compared to a generation ago, meaning we're living longer, what has shortened is our healthy life expectancy. Healthy life expectancy has actually declined, right? So put a 1 in the chat for me if you fully understand that there's a difference between life expectancy and healthy life expectancy. Is this something that you guys were aware of? Like, so many of us are striving to live longer, but living longer doesn't mean living healthier. And so my mission at the Black Health Academy, my mission here with you this morning, my personal life mission is to extend the healthy life expectancy of people of color on this planet. So let me see, who knew? I'm seeing some ones. Come on, Kimbereley, Sonia, Connie, thank you. Glenda, yes, one. So everyone knows, like, listen, it's not a flex to just live long. It's a flex to live long without a dependence on medications, without being a burden to people that, and we could have avoided it without, it's a flex to live long and still have all of our capacities and our cognitive functioning. So that's what we're here to do. So no longer are we bragging about somebody living to 90 or 100 without knowing what their healthy lifespan was or is, okay? That's the first assignment. Y'all gonna take away several, but that's the first one, all right? The real flex is, how long do I live healthy? Okay, so let's talk about the origin of type 2 diabetes and what exactly it is. Now, some of you guys who have been coming to the seminar, you may have already heard some of this from some of the other speakers and presenters. Some of you, it's new information, but let's just get crystal clear on what's happening in the body when we're diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, all right? First of all, as I've said, it's a matter of lifestyle, not necessarily genetics, okay? So our lifestyle determines insulin resistance. So what does that mean? That means genetics does matter. However, genetic predisposition does not guarantee health outcomes. We give our genes direction by what we eat. Now, many of you guys have probably heard that food is information. Food is information. Many of us have gotten away from that, and we've started using food as entertainment. We've started using food as therapy. We started using food as a punishment and or a reward. But food is information for our genetic code. And what we eat tells our genes what to do. Now, this is good news. I don't know. I don't see nobody jumping out their seat yet, but let me, what they say in church, that was your praise break. Because here's the thing about it, y'all. If food is information and you're battling something that's dictated by what you eat, that means you have control to get out from under that thing. That means that if I can just change what I eat to change my health outcomes when it comes to diabetes, you should be elated, because it's that simple and it's that hard, right? It's that simple and it's that hard. So if what I eat can determine what genes express themselves, and I only want the good genes to express themselves, then all I got to do is eat the good stuff. So the first thing is, well, no, this is the second thing. Now, somebody keep a list of how many takeaways I need. But the second takeaway today is food is information. And my genetics don't tell me what to do. I tell my genes what to do. So I don't care whether or not your mom, your grandma, two cousins, and a sister and a long lost cousin on your daddy's side had it. That does not mean it's going to be your fate. That does not mean it's going to be your fate. I tell my genes what to do, and I tell them what to do by what I eat, how I move, what I drink, what I smoke, how I live, what I do for a living, how much I spend on my relationships, how much I lean into my purpose in this life, right? And so all of that determines health outcomes. So this is a matter of lifestyle. All right. So what is type 2 diabetes? Let's spend one slide on a little bit of science, shall we? Because that's my jam, y'all. I love science. So here's the thing. Type 2 diabetes is not a carbohydrate problem. Type 2 diabetes is not a carbohydrate problem. It's a fat problem. So what's happening when most people get diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, they really start hyper-focusing and micromanaging their carbohydrate intake. And I'm not saying you shouldn't, okay? I'm not saying carbohydrates don't matter. I'm saying the cause of the type 2 diabetes is the fat, okay? And so fat is what prevents the sugar from moving out of the blood and into the muscle and liver cells. So essentially what happens is we eat, our body converts that food into glucose, right? And that glucose is meant to move out of our blood into our muscle and liver cells to create energy, okay? ATP. However, what happens when we have too much fat is that fat blocks the entrance into that muscle and liver cell, and that sugar stays in our blood. Now, the reason I'm taking a quick moment to tell you this is so that you can understand that only paying attention to your carbs, only paying attention to your sugar intake is only paying attention to the symptom of the real problem. The true problem is fat. So why is that relevant? Because on a whole food plant-based diet, we're taking the majority of the fat out of the diet. The majority of our fat intake comes from meat, dairy, and seafood, guys. This is another praise break right here. Wait a minute, Lisa. I thought it was a sugar issue. I thought all I had to do was just stop eating so much sugar to micromanage my carbs. But you're telling me the sugar in the blood is not the main problem. It's what's mucking up the entrance into my muscle and liver cells. And that is the fat. So we're going to take the fat out of our diet, and we're going to hopefully increase insulin sensitivity. All right. So the overwhelming majority of the fat we consume comes from animal products and ultra processed food, right? So even those of you that may already identify as vegan, who may say, nope, Lisa, I'm already plant-based, you have to understand, and I'm about to get to it, that there's a difference between just a vegan diet and a whole food plant-based vegan diet. And I'm going to explain what that is. So it is very much possible to still be consuming a vegan diet and getting too much fat. So the majority of the fat comes from animals, but not all of it. So I'm going to talk about what that can look like shortly. All right. But first, I wanted to give you 3 things that are potential residual effects of type 2 diabetes. All right. Now, drop a 1 in the chat if you knew this already. How many people knew that when you have type 2 diabetes, it increases your chances for dementia? Drop a 1 in the chat if you knew that already. I know we got some scholars here, but how many people knew that when you have type 2 diabetes, it's significantly, I mean, scientifically significantly increases your chances for cognitive decline, for mild cognitive impairment, for dementia, right? This is major. And let me show you how this happens, okay? Remember I said earlier, we eat and our body converts what we eat into glucose when we eat those carbohydrates, all right? Carbs, starch, and fiber. When we eat that, it converts those things to glucose. Well, glucose not only is responsible for giving us energy, it's fuel for our brain. So glucose fuels our brain, but can only, again, be brought into our cells in the presence of insulin. Without insulin, glucose rises outside of the cell, but it doesn't have enough insulin to get into the cell. And so the brain cells starve from a lack of glucose, even though the bloodstream is flooded with it. Lisa, simplify this for me. That means a starving man is in a room full of food and can't eat. That's what happens, right? You're starving, you're in a room full of food, but you can't eat. That's how diabetes leads to cognitive decline. The glucose is in your body, but your brain can't get access to it because you have insulin resistance. And what we want is insulin sensitivity. So the insulin resistance that's causing the complications from the neck down also causes complications from the neck up, because our brain typically takes roughly about 25% of the sustenance that we consume. Our brain needs it to thrive as well. And our brain is really vascular, right? A lot of veins and arteries lead to our brain, and those are supposed to be the vehicles for sustenance. But if we have insulin resistance, our brain doesn't get that sustenance, and that's how it leads to cognitive decline. Please tell me it made sense. I don't like to spend a lot of time on the science because sometimes it gets confusing, but for those who need the science and need to understand it at a deeper level, I like to bring that too, okay? So once you've escalated from insulin resistance to diabetes, your risk of cognitive decline and dementia and Alzheimer's significantly increases, right? So that's just one major reason as to why we need to do everything we can to combat this condition. Here's another residual effect of type 2 diabetes. Remember we were talking about that top 10 causes of death when I first started? We saw diabetes, we saw cognitive decline, and then we saw kidney failure. Kidney failure, one of the top side effects of diabetes. Here's the crazy thing about kidney failure though. Kidney failure may not show up as a result of type 2 diabetes until after years of the diagnosis. So it may not be an immediate thing, but this is something that we see commonly in type 2 diabetics as their kidneys begin to fail. So over time, what happens is that high blood sugar causes blood vessel damage in the kidneys, as well as our nephrons, which are just like these little workhorses in our kidneys, and they don't work as well as they should. So type 2 diabetes can lead to Alzheimer's and dementia, and it can lead to CKD, chronic kidney disease. Let's look at one more. And I don't know if most people, tell me scholars if you knew this one. I know my students, my farmers who in the audience know this one, but how many people knew that a result of type 2 diabetes, taking medications for type 2 diabetes could lead to vitamin and mineral deficiencies? Anti-diabetic medications could result in a deficiency in CoQ10, vitamin B12, folic acid. And then I'm going to pause here to show you guys one more thing, because I just brought it up because it was just too much to type. But I want to show you guys something. There's a site we use for my students inside my program. And I want to show you really quickly the other side effects of type 2 diabetes outside of just a vitamin B and CoQ10 deficiency. So here, when you have anti-diabetic drugs, so we see the most common one on here is metformin. But other side effects of being on these drugs long-term: decreased protection against cancer, decreased protection against aging, decreased protection against congestive heart failure, increased lipid levels. So anemia is a risk, insomnia is a risk. So there are not just vitamin and mineral deficiencies that you're at risk with here if you're on diabetic drugs, but there are just your body's defense system is completely compromised when we have to take these drugs long-term use. So that's the lowdown in the T of type 2 diabetes. So now let's get into how to combat it, taking a whole food plant-based approach. Let's talk about it. So let me go back and let me show you what it looks like, y'all, because this is good stuff. Woo, this is good stuff. Y'all good so far? How many done learned something already? If you learned something already, say me in the chat. Who already done learned something new today? Okay, because we're gonna make sure y'all scholars for y'all leave here. It's gonna be no excuses. I don't know who knows me in the audience, but you will know that I don't play around, okay? And so you're gonna be scholars. If you say you came across one of my talks or lectures, you leaving a scholar, okay? So thank you guys. Me. Yes, beautiful. Thank you, Ruth. Thank you, Rochelle. Thank you, Arlette. Beautiful. Okay, they learning, y'all. It's working. Okay, so let's talk about the main cause of type 2 diabetes, which is the standard American diet. The standard American diet, right? So how we eat, because remember I told you, diabetes is not a carbohydrate problem. It's a fat problem. The root of the problem is a fat problem. So what that means that if we can change our diet and stop the consumption of so much of this fat, the saturated fat, these high fatty foods, these ultra processed foods, these trans fats, we have the potential to reverse that insulin resistance and increase our insulin sensitivity. Okay. So let's look at it. Here's the solution for you. Adopt a whole food plant-based vegan diet because it's going to be a low fat approach to your dietary regimen. So here's what needs to happen. All right. Here's 3 short bullets. Number 1, we're going to focus on a whole food plant-based diet. Number 2, we're going to drink half of our healthy body weight in ounces of water per day. And number 3, we're going to eliminate SOS, right? So the first, we're going to adopt a whole food plant-based diet. And I'm going to show you in a minute in my next slide, the difference between just a vegan diet and the difference between the powerhouse that is a whole food plant-based vegan diet. But here's an example of a meal. And listen, spoiler alert, in a couple more slides, y'all, I put examples of my personal meals on here. So these aren't like stock photos. I'm going to show you what I truly eat so you can see what this look like. Because how many know, like, Lisa, you done already sold me on it. I'm just not convinced the food is good. Like, who's like, I could low key turn this off and wait 10 minutes. I already know I need to go plant-based. I just need to be convinced that I can still eat good. So don't worry. I already read your mind and I have pictures of my food. Okay. Coming up. So here's the thing, right? So we need a whole food plant-based diet, meaning we're not eating all of that processed junk, even if it's vegan. Like we're truly eating the whole real food as close to its original form as possible, because the food is the medicine as long as we're eating it in its original molecular structure. All right. So when man gets a hold of it, starts breaking it up, chopping it up, processing it, filtering it, stripping it, that's when it becomes disease promoting. But when we eat the whole food and its original molecular structure, that's when it's health promoting. So that's the first thing. The next you're going to do is drink that water and hydrate. So we're going to get rid of all of those sugary drinks. We're going to get rid of all of that coffee. We're going to get rid of all of that caffeine, those caffeinated drinks. We're going to get rid of that flavored water that tries to tell you that is low calorie, low sugar, no sugar, all of the fat stuff. And we're going to drink the water because the water is going to help those arteries to dilate. And that's going to be really important. And finally, we're going to eliminate that SOS, that salt, oil, and sugar. Now, those who know me know that I don't just teach a vegan diet. I teach a very elevated version of a vegan diet. And so that means I start getting into stuff that's even vegan, but is not health promoting. And so in that category is SOS, salt, oil, and sugar. So this is going to be the best way to increase your chances of insulin sensitivity, which is what we want, right? So let me define the difference between the two so you will know where I'm coming from, right? I'm about to drive right down your lane, right down your street, y'all. So a vegan versus a whole food plant-based diet. Just a vegan diet, guys, is the absence of animal products. It's that simple. Like if you want to adopt a vegan diet, all you have to do is not eat animal products. Some of you guys probably had a vegan meal this morning. If you just had like a bowl of oatmeal with maybe some fruit and nuts and seeds, you had a vegan meal. If you had a smoothie, right, that wasn't made with dairy or yogurt, then you had a vegan meal. So vegan is just the absence of animal products. Vegan doesn't necessarily mean healthy or unhealthy. It's just simply the absence of animal products. However, what I'm here to convince you of today is a whole food plant-based vegan diet, which is the absence of animal products, the absence of ultra-processed food, the absence of excess salt, oil, and sugar. But here's the kicker: the intentional presence of plants. Now, listen, I was blown away when I found out, y'all, that some people adopt a vegan diet and never eat plants. I was like, wait, what? My mind was blown. So it might sound crazy to hear me say it, but in order to really use diet to combat diabetes, you have to intentionally eat the plants, not just not eat the chicken. So if you understand there's a difference between the two, like Lisa, you're telling me to give up animal products and that'll solve my problems. That's only one half of the equation. Not only do you have to get rid of the animal products because they're full of all the fat, you have to then intentionally eat the plants, right? So give me an I in the chat if you get that. Like, giving up the animal products isn't enough. I then have to also intentionally eat the kale, the spinach, the bok choy, the cucumbers, the pomegranate. Like, give me an I in the chat. I got it. Thank you, Arlette. Thank you, Glenda. Thank you, Karen. Thank you, Patricia. Thank you, Stonebridge. Okay, so it's not just the absence of the animals that's going to get me to optimal health, least it's the intentional presence of plants, because people really don't eat plants, y'all, which y'all going to after today. So let's look at an illustration of this, all right? So this picture is actually a picture of vegan food. Some of y'all might not even know that Hershey's chocolate syrup was vegan. Who knew Oreo pie crust was vegan? Who knew Nutter Butters were vegan? Like, this is a vegan regimen. Every product in this picture is vegan, okay? Every product, but this is not the diet that I'm promoting. This is the diet that I'm promoting, right? And y'all know this already, but some of y'all need to see it, okay? So we're eating the whole food as close to its original molecular structure as possible. That is the goal, all right? So your diet should be 80 to 90% label free. And here's kind of the makeup of a whole food plant-based diet. So here's a whole food plant-based food pyramid, guys. So we have legumes, whole grains, vegetables, fruit, leafy greens, and high-fat whole foods. So that means like your avocados, your nuts, your seeds, all right? So this is not like your oil and all of the process. This is not like the fattiness that comes from fish. This is not the fattiness that comes from chicken, right? But these are healthy fats, because we do need fat in our diet, but all fat is not created equal. So we want the fat that, one, comes from plant-based foods, and two, that is whole. And when I say that is whole, that means there's a difference, guys, between olives and olive oil. There's a difference, guys, between coconut and coconut oil. The coconut oil, the olive oil, is problematic when it comes to diabetes. But can I eat an olive, Lisa? Absolutely, right? Now, if you got hypertension, you might want to watch your sodium level. But is an olive dangerous? No. Is olive oil? Yes. So there's a difference. Remember, I said it's close to its original molecular structure as possible, makes it more health promoting. Okay. All right. So this is what my personal diet is made up of. This is what I coach my students to in Farm to Table. This is what I teach my coaches in the certification. This is what we teach and promote. This is the elevated version of a plant-based diet that we teach. It's not just veganism that's going to get you there. So the question becomes, Lisa, show me some pictures, okay? If y'all ready to see some food, say show me in the chat. Like, let me see what this really look like, because you done told me I can't eat the potato chips even though they vegan. You done told me I can't have the cupcakes even though they vegan. You done told me that the processed vegan burgers ain't for me if I got diabetes in it, or just in general if I want to live optimally. So what do you eat, Lise? What do you eat? Okay, they said show me. I only like to do it when I got permission, y'all. I only like to do it when I got permission. Okay, so here it is. I'm gonna show you about 3 or 4. I might have 4 or 5 pictures on here. So first, listen, let me tell y'all, plants every damn day. Now I apologize. I'm sorry. I should have got permission from Karen and Stonebridge. I don't know what the rules are on language around here, but anybody who knows me knows that my hashtag, my tagline, the mantra that I live my life by, no joke. Like, let me not even smile during this part. The mantra that I live my life by, that I truly believe is responsible for my optimal performance in this life, is the fact that I eat plants every bleep day. Okay. Every day. And the reason, guys, is because some people take medications, some people take vitamins, some people take supplements, right? Specifically, when it comes to vitamins and supplements, what we're trying to do is get our nutrients. We're trying to get our vitamins and minerals by taking a pill or putting a scoop of protein powder in a smoothie. But what if I told you that that powder and that pill and that potion all came from a plant? And you can save a boatload of money if you just buy the plant and eat the plant. Not only that, it's a safer approach because the dosage in that supplement is not always good. The added ingredients in that vitamin and supplement is not always health promoting. And so what we want to do is err on the side of caution and eat the plants. So first rule, no, this is probably like the fourth rule. Nobody's keeping track for me. But the fourth rule from today is, if I want to get my body and my mind back to a place of optimal health, I must eat plants every bleak day because the plant is the medicine. Matter of fact, the only reason vitamins and supplements exist, y'all, is because you can't put a patent on a plant. Like if I could come in, if I can go to the trademark office, the federal government trademark office, and say, I want to put a patent on kale, they won't let me do it. But what can I do? I can take kale into a science lab, break it down, extract something from it, mix in a little sugar, a little food dye, a little gum, a little filler, and then I can call it a proprietary recipe, and I can put a patent on that. That's why vitamins and supplements primarily exist, is because you can't put a patent on what Mother Nature made, right? So we're going to now become smart consumers, and we are going to eat the plant that the vitamin and supplement originally came from anyway. Agreed? Okay, I'm gonna take all that silence energy that I feel as yes. Okay, so let's keep going. What else do I eat on a plant-based diet? Elevated salads. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I don't know who's still eating basic salads out here. Like, I'm not judging y'all if y'all only throwing cucumber and tomato on a salad, but we elevate our salads over here. So in this picture, you see some spinach. Did I tell y'all what was in the last one? I don't know if y'all wanted to know, but let me go back. So in this one, y'all, everything looks pretty obvious, but of course the plants, the purple cabbage, tomatoes, there's chickpeas, there's sweet potatoes in this salad. And then there's like some creamy tahini dressing in this one, okay? And then this one, the base is spinach, because plants every damn day. And then avocado, chickpeas, carrots, cauliflower. And this one also has sweet potato, but this is more like a yam, right? Sweet potatoes and yams are slightly different. So this is a salad that I had this summer when I was living in South Africa, in Cape Town, South Africa, right? Because my lifestyle goes with me. How many people know they help don't go on vacation just because they do? Okay, amen. All right, so this was one of my salads that I had this summer in Cape Town. All right, and so that was delicious. So elevated salads. What else do we eat on a plant-based diet? Come on, burritos. Okay, do I need to say anything else? Like, who don't love burritos, right? So in this burrito, okay, we got my rice. I have I think it's avocado in here, some pinto beans in here, all of my burrito toppings. Now listen, somebody might be looking at this and like, no, we talking about diabetes, Lisa. That's rice and a burrito roll tortilla. That's too many carbs. Look. Let me pause here, okay? Let me pause here. Remember, number one, that diabetes is a fat issue, not a carbohydrate issue. Do you need to watch your carbs? Yes. Can you still eat burritos? Yes. How do I combat the impact of starch in my diet? Here's your answer. I didn't even put this on a slide, but let me just say this for everybody that's afraid of carbs here, okay? Fiber, okay? The way you stop the starch, the carbohydrate, from converting to glucose in your bloodstream too quickly is in the presence of fiber. In this burrito, I have beans, super high in fiber, right? And some other things. Avocado is good in fiber. So listen, when you are afraid of starch, the way, if you think, Lisa, bread, rice, pasta, and potatoes makes me gain weight. No. what you have is a fiber deficiency. Fiber is what slows down the conversion of the starch into glucose. When eating starch makes you gain weight, or even when eating starch shoots up your blood sugar, guys, this is because you don't have enough fiber present in order to slow down. I'm gonna give you a super simple example. The difference between eating an apple and drinking fresh squeezed orange juice. The orange juice, or I'm sorry, I said apple and orange juice. Let's make it make sense, Lisa. Eating an apple and eating fresh squeezed apple juice. So even if you watched me right now, squeeze the juice out of an apple into a cup, right? So I'm gonna say that's healthy because I took it right out the apple into the cup. I didn't add anything to it. I didn't concentrate it, whatever. It's just apple juice. Still, that apple juice, that fresh squeezed apple juice is going to make your blood sugar shoot up. But if you eat that apple, it is not going to shoot up as quickly or as high because everybody's blood sugar goes up when they have carbohydrates. It doesn't matter. It's how quickly that happens that we want to control. And if we want to control how quickly our blood sugar spikes, we make sure we consume how many grams of fiber a day, farmers? How many grams of fiber a day? For those of you who have watched me teach before, I'm gonna let the audience tell you because I know I got some scholars. Look at the scholars coming through. Yes, 30 grams of fiber a day is what we need to be consuming on a daily basis that is going to help to control our blood sugar. That's what does it. So we are not afraid of burritos. We are not afraid of toast. We're not afraid of potatoes over here. We're not afraid of pasta over here. The second thing about starch that I'm going to say, then we're going to move on. So one, there's a deficiency in fiber, but two, we also don't want to eat the stripped versions of those things. So, like all pasta, all potatoes, all rice is not created equal. So like brown rice versus white rice, one takes 15 minutes, one takes 45 minutes to an hour. Why? Because the wild rice, the brown rice, the black rice, it still has the fiber present, and that is going to slow down how quickly that rice shoots up your blood sugar. So you want to eat the versions of the starch that have not been stripped of their fiber. Okay. All right. Let's keep going. Almost at the end here. Burritos. Oh, we got that. Okay. Next, soups and stews. It's fall time. It's getting chilly in some parts of the country for many of us. Remember, our soups and stews are going to change the game for you in a plant-based diet. You want heartiness. You want comfort. You want something warm and filling, right? So this plant-based life is not all about salads all the time, y'all. It is also about, making sure that you are just eating a great diversity and compilation of foods. All right. So this is a 21 bean soup. So again, super high in fiber, like 1.5, 2 bowls of this for the day. And you just like, boom, got my fiber in. So 21 bean soup. I got all my veg in here. I got all my aromatics in here, like my garlic and all of that. Right. And it is super high fiber, super high sustenance. All of my vitamins and minerals change the game. All right. So creamy soups and stews, another thing we eat on a plant-based diet. Let's talk about a little dessert, these last two. Smoothies. Come on now. Who don't love a good smoothie? Look at this delicious one. I was at this beautiful open air market in Cape Town. And this is a smoothie that I had. So yummy. So one of the ways you can get plants in every damn day, of course, is by drinking them. Okay. So in juices or smoothies, should you solely drink your plants? Absolutely not. Unless you have some medical condition, you should definitely strive to chew at least one meal a day because there is a difference between chewing and drinking. All right. However, there is nothing wrong with throwing your plants in a smoothie. Now, here's the formula for a smoothie because some of us get mad crazy. How many of y'all still out there putting pineapple, mango, strawberries, blueberries, all of the fruits in a smoothie and calling it a meal replacement? Okay, don't admit it. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Just know that your toes just got stepped on, okay? All you need to know is if you're making a smoothie as a meal replacement and it is meant to give you sustenance, like I'm having a green smoothie for breakfast type of situation, right? that smoothie should be 75% plants. Somebody put this recipe in the chat for me. 75% plants and no more than 1 to 2 fruits to wash the medicine down. That's the formula. If you want a smoothie that's meal replacement, that's sustenance, that's like combat diabetes smoothie, then it needs to be 75% plants, not 8 different types of fruits and 1 scoop of chia seeds. That's not what we're doing. Okay. So we're doing 75% plants, no more than 1 to 2 fruits, so we can wash the taste of the plants down. And then you add in all of your nuts, your seeds. If you want to scoop of nut butter, that's fine. You do it, your chia, your hemp, your flax, all of that. But we have to stop calling it a smoothie that's meant to be a health smoothie, and we're having 8 different types of fruit in it. Okay. That's a no-no. Final one. Let me show you something else. Come on now, dessert. Because people like, Lisa, I got this sweet tooth. Acai bowls or smoothie bowls, better yet. Okay. This is a smoothie bowl that I had about a month or 2 ago in Southern California. Listen, fire. So you got the smoothie at the bottom. It's all thickened up. Then I got my toppings. I got hemp seeds on here, banana, goji berries, cashews on here. I think I even got some cacao nibs on here, give it a little chocolate flavor. So this is one of the ways I satisfy my sweet tooth on my whole food, plant-based vegan diet. So it is not all salads. It is not all just food with never any dessert, but it's really about how can I still eat healthy and satisfy my sweet tooth. So that's what I do here. Okay. So getting started on a plant-based diet, here's your takeaways. I'm gonna go through these really quickly and open it up for Q&A. Okay. Number 1, if you have a specific health challenge, get very clear on what you're trying to achieve, because all vegan diets are not created equal. Diabetes requires a low-fat, whole food vegan diet. Number 2, commit to removing all animal products for at least 90 days. Okay. Gather data from that 90 days to make an informed decision going forward. So all animal products includes what we call in my ecosystem meds: meat, eggs, dairy, and seafood. Okay. So you remove it all. Don't give this a mediocre effort and expect an excellent result. Okay. Next, allow time for your taste buds to start changing and explore what your new normal could look like. Let me say this next sentence very slowly. A few undesirable meals should not dictate your entire lifestyle. Meaning, Lisa, I tried a black bean burger. I hated it. I can't be vegan. Like, okay, so let me get this straight. Every piece of fried chicken and every plate of macaroni and cheese you had in your life was delicious? No. Okay, so you let them off the hook and still went back to mac and cheese and fried chicken. Well, yes. Okay, so I'm gonna need you to do the same thing in the plant-based world. Don't let one plant-based or vegan meal that you didn't like dictate whether or not you're gonna really take this approach to combating your health. Agreed? Agreed. Okay. Ain't nothing like agreeing with yourself. All right. Next 3. Here we go. Do not avoid detox, withdrawals, or the hard work of working through chemical and food dependencies. You cannot only do what comes easy. We got to do it all. What are you saying, Lisa? That means when you let the coffee go, when you let the soda go, when you let the sugar go, when you let the potato chips go, because again, we got to be aggressive here because we're combating something aggressive, right? When you let that go in an effort to get back to a place of homeostasis and balance, you have to know it's going to come with some side effects, because most of us are addicted to this salt, oil, and sugar. So you have to be willing to go through the detox and withdrawals. It is a part of the process. I'm not going to sugarcoat it for you. Next, even if you use some vegan processed food in the beginning, do not plan to rely on those indefinitely. They are not always healthy and could prolong healing. Okay. So all that vegan processed junk food, we're not here for it. All right. We want the whole real food. And finally, to speed up the process, utilize apps like Happy Cow, where you can find vegan or plant-friendly restaurants near you. You can use meal box services and prep services like Daily Harvest, Sprindly, and Purple Carrot. Recipe books, of course. And most importantly, and this is the quickest way to success, just get a coach and join a community. Like, I don't know why we're so proud of DIY, doing it ourselves, but you don't have to. Come on now, won't he do it? You don't have to do it alone. All right. I'm a plant-based certified coach. I have my own certification where I certify people in plant-based nutrition. So I have a whole community of coaches. So let me tell you something. Don't DIY this. If it all sounds overwhelming, that is the indicator to ask for help. And that's all from me, y'all. Let's get ready for Q&A. Here's my gift to you. Here's my gift to you. So listen, I am, again, Lisa Smith. There's my website, my email, and then you want to follow me on social media. If you want to get your toes stepped on a little more often, then that would be the place to do it. I'm always going off on social media. And my signature coaching program is Farm to Table. And my signature plant-based certification is called the Plant Protocol. And the Plant Protocol is the very first plant-based coaching certification founded by a person of color. Hello, it's me. It's me making history. Okay. So we prioritize the unique circumstances that combat, that people of color are combated with and faced with when they're adopting this lifestyle. All right. So I created the plant-based coaching certification, the Plant Protocol, because there were some deficits when I was getting certified in plant-based nutrition. And we know diversity and inclusion is very important. And it turns out that Black people is the fastest growing demographic of vegans in the US. So we should also be the fastest growing demographic of plant-based coaches. It only made sense in my head. Here's your gift. Go on, take a video, a picture of that QR code. And if you're on your phone watching this, don't worry, don't fret. I am going to drop the link in the chat for you. Okay, so I'm going to leave this QR code up. And then I'm also going to drop the link in the chat if you're on your phone and you cannot take a picture. And that way you can get that free masterclass, How to Combat a Sugar Addiction. Questions? I'm open, or did I answer them all?
Thank you so much. That was an amazing presentation, Lisa. If anybody does have questions, feel free to raise your hand. I believe I saw a hand up earlier, but feel free to raise your hand or drop your questions in the chat, and Lisa will gladly answer. That was amazing. Like, I definitely learned a lot of great information. So I appreciate you sharing all of your time and your energy with us this morning.
Oh, it's been 100% my pleasure. This is my audience right here. Y'all, my jam. I love teaching how to take a plant approach to chronic lifestyle disease. So thank you for having me. Any hands, any questions? Janelle.
There we go. How you doing, Lisa? Excellent, excellent.
Thank you, Coach.
I just want to say, so when you were talking about CKD and type 2 diabetes, one of the other, I guess, motivating things that kind of came to mind is the American diet high in animal protein further destroys the kidney as well. So that's just like another motive. Like, I was like, yes, that too. So,
yes.
And then I wanted to ask, can you comment for my knowledge and for everyone else's knowledge? And if I didn't hear it, people always want to know, well, how do I get my protein? How do I get my protein?
Yes, great point. So you're 100% right. The kidneys are responsible for filtering out that protein, in addition to, phosphorus and potassium. And so first of all, if anybody has any kidney challenges, animal protein is going to be what you want to stay away from first and foremost, because it's too acidic for the kidneys. But in general, how do we get our protein on a whole food plant-based diet is going to be from plants and whole plant foods. Specifically, if you want to get it quickly, it's going to be through those legumes. So let me go back to the food pyramid here. And then you guys let me know if I need to put the QR code back up. But these legumes right here, beans, peas, lentils, and seeds are going to be protein packed. All protein comes from plants. When we eat animals, we're just eating recycled plant protein. So animals are the middleman. They are not the source. Let's go. Patricia, thanks for that question, Janelle.
Hi, Lisa. I really enjoyed your presentation. I just was wondering, is it possible that you could show on the screen again how to get started with the plant-based diet? You had two, and I want to take pictures of it.
Okay, here's the first one.
Okay.
Let me know when I can go to the next one. George, you're on deck.
Okay, 1 second.
Okay.
The question I had was fasting blood glucose levels. What are the normal ranges and what are the ranges you need to be concerned about?
Right around below 100 roughly is where we try and be. And then when it starts creeping up above that, you want to roughly get, just start being mindful.
Okay, you can go to the next one.
Okay, there you go, Patricia.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. And so, George, I don't have exact numbers on me right now. I used to have them in the presentation, actually. usually right around 100 or below is usually roughly a safe zone.
Okay, yeah, I thought it was like 70 to 100 safe zone, and under 70 you could get what, like a stroke or something, or diabetic coma or something like that.
You said under 70?
Yeah, under 70, I thought was like the threshold we, diabetics need to be concerned.
Yep.
Okay, thanks.
Yep. You're welcome. Melody and then Sonia.
Hi, Lisa. Thanks for everything. My question is about fiber. What's the easy, I guess some easy ways to get the fiber? I know sometimes I struggle with it, and eating a whole plant-based diet, right? If I eat the oatmeal, it seems it works. And sometimes I've done like psyllium husk to help me, but I struggle with the fiber, and I noticed that with my, with my diet.
Okay, when you say you struggle with it, you said I get the oatmeal and it works. Are you having digestive issues, or are you worried?
I have digestive issues, but I know, like, I definitely got the sweet tooth. I'm definitely not eating vegan processed food, so I try to make stuff. I do try to limit my salt, sugar, and oil, but I don't think I get enough fiber. And I can tell, like, when I had my bowel movements, when I've gotten more, I've had a better fiber intake.
Yeah. So it's going to be prioritizing it. And again, based on this food pyramid here, Melody, is like making sure you have and these like beans, peas, lentils, seeds, but we also get a lot of fiber from fruits and vegetables as well. It's just not something that we categorize in our head. But so plants every damn day. But then what's cool about these legumes is that they can be one pot meals. How I showed you guys that picture of my 21 bean soup. So you can make a pot of a stew that's a high fiber stew because it has a lot of legumes in it. And then you can eat off of that for a couple of days. Here's a great pro tip as far as eliminating regularly is going to be that water, Melody. So first of all, you want to make sure you're drinking half of your healthy body weight. Here's the slide again, half of your healthy body weight and ounces of water per day. But here's the pro tip that takes my students to another level. You need to consume 25 ounces of water within the first 30 minutes of waking. And that is going to expedite elimination. So you absolutely need to be eating 30 grams of fiber a day. And I would recommend using a food logging app to try and track it. To know when you're on, because you also don't want to just be guesstimating. You don't want to just be, you want to know for sure. Like we want data. We want to make data-driven decisions. So try tracking your food for about 2 weeks. Make sure you're drinking an adequate amount of water. Make sure you're drinking 25 ounces of water within 30 minutes of waking every single day. And then make sure you're eliminating any other beverages. And I don't know if you have, I think I heard you say sugar is an issue for you.
It's I have a sweet tooth, so I do make sure I use like the organic sugar and stuff like that, but I know sugar is sugar, right? So yeah, that is my struggle. And does herbal teas count?
Herbal teas are fine as long, but I don't know if you're sweetening them with that organic sugar though. Now that's gonna be a problem.
And I won't. I mean, every once in a while, I might put a little bit of agave in it, but it's not even enough to sweeten it because sometimes it's like a waste. I'll put it in there and I can't taste it, or I'll make dates, like a date honey, and I'll put date honey in it. But sometimes I know I don't put enough in it to make it sweet, so I'm just like, forget it. Let me just drink the way it is. You know what I mean? So yeah, I do try to just limit it because I don't need it for the herbal teas, but I do struggle with this fall winter season with my water intake. I'm very great during the summer and hotter weathers. I'm in Pennsylvania, but once this change comes, I do struggle with getting my healthy body weight of water in.
Very common, very common. So I know we got to move on. I know Stonebridge, let me know if we have time for Sonia and Patricia's question really quickly. But Melody, the final thing I'll say to you is, first of all, make sure you watch this masterclass because I think it will be really enlightening for you. The second thing I'll say, and this is for everybody, if you know you are struggling with sugar or any other substance, the only way to get over an addiction is abstinence, not moderation. You cannot moderate create an addiction. So if something has a stronger hold over you than you have over it, abstinence is going to be your key. And that's also probably going to be a key to you unlocking more fiber fueled meals, Melody, because sugar hijacks our hunger hormones and starts controlling our ghrelin and our leptin, which are the hormones that tells us we're hungry or we're full. And so sugar really hijacks those. So when we get the sugar out of your regimen, when you go abstinent starting today, come on, we're going to speak it into existence, then that will also increase your capacity for high fiber meals. And just out of respect for time, you're welcome. Okay, we have to move on. All right. Thank you guys so much for this morning and for having me. Thank you so much, Stonebridge.
Yes, thank you so much. And I do apologize to Sonia and Patricia. If you ladies can please either put your questions in the chat to everyone or directly to Lisa, that would be greatly appreciated. Lisa, if you can hang out for a little while and maybe answer the questions during our 5-minute break after our chef presented, that would be awesome as well. Thank you, everybody. Thank you so much again, Lisa, for that amazing presentation. Karen, I would like to turn it back over to you and share my screen so you can introduce our next presenter if you are ready.
Okay.
1 second.
Okay, our second torchbearer is Chef Brandy. Chef Brandy Cochran is a co-founder of Plant Candy and is a plant-based chef. She is on a mission to help people simplify plant-based living. Whether she is supporting entrepreneurs, communities, or families, her goal is to shift the mindset of anyone who's curious about the plant-based lifestyle. Ultimately, Brandy wants to create a narrative that a splash of creativity, a dash of openness, and a lot of spice can make plant-based living enjoyable and fun. You can learn more about her work at brandybrandy.com. Welcome, Chef Brandy.
Hey, good morning, everybody. How are you guys doing today? Cool. So I'm excited. I'm always excited to share, and I'm super excited that I got to go after Lisa, because Lisa's like no holds bar. She's no joke in this whole plant-based space. She doesn't let you off the hook as much as I do. But what she's saying is all the way real. So I know that the information we hear this all the time about how a plant-based diet can help you with diabetes. But as you know, people of color, we know how important it is for the food to not only be good for us, but that it also tastes good. And so what I like to do is to help us find ways to make the stuff that we're putting into our mouths to manage our health actually be enjoyable. It doesn't have to be a chore. So today, I wanted to tackle a play on a few things. I know we're coming into the holiday season, so food is a big part of it, but also thinking about some of the things that we may be missing or think that we can't have when we're tackling diabetes. I wanted to create something around that. So we got a combo meal today that we're going to be doing, which is a tahini Alfredo whole wheat linguine pasta with a medley of vegetables that kind of help us to kind of feel very festive. I'm playing around with the festive collection of vegetables today. So we're going to play around with some butternut squash, some peppers. We're going to caramelize some onions, and we're also going to add a little bit of nutmeg to our Alfredo sauce, which is something that is pretty. It adds just another layer, but it also reminds us of the holiday. So Karen or whoever, Stonebridge, whoever monitoring the cam, if we could swap my cam to the demo kitchen, cam is going to help us to get a better view of me actually breaking down the veggies. So we're going to get into this right now. So one of the things I always say when we are doing a plant-based diet is that, or any diet honestly, is that we have to kind of have onions. Onions are a food group in themselves. They add a ton of flavor to your food. One of the things I love to do is to help people learn how to break down an onion in the most effective and efficient way. Now, this is the bottom of your onion. This is where you have all your roots and stuff. And this is the top of your onion. When you cut your onion, you want to cut it right down the middle so that you end up with two halves with both of the bottom and the top on both sides, right? That's going to help us to just break this onion down in the most efficient and easy way possible. What I just did was cut off the front of this onion, and I'm going to peel this skin off. Now today, in this recipe, I'm using this red onion, which kind of looks more purple, but is known as the red onion because I wanted to make this very festive and colorful. But say, for instance, these onions you're not into them, you could swap out any onion. So we're gonna look, this is the front of our onion. This is the back of our onion. Now, tip. Whenever you are cutting your onion for raw preparation, that means you're gonna put it into a salad, you're gonna put it onto a sandwich. You want to cut your onion from front to back. Front to back is how we eat onions raw, and they don't end up being like really strong and kind of invasive. Now, if we're going to saute our onion, cook it down, you want to cut it from left to right. So that's the difference. If you've ever had a like maybe you've had a dish and you go, oh, this onion seems a little strong and kind of powerful. It may have been that the person cut it for saute preparation versus raw preparation. And so it literally shows up that way. So that's just a tip when we are cutting our onions and making sure that we enjoy them as much as we possibly can. Now, I'm going to be sauteing these today. They're going into the pasta. So I'm cutting them from left to right for that reason. Now, I also want to show you how to break it down in cubes so that when we're not cutting our onions in slices, we also know how we can cut our onion. So yet again, this is the front of our onion. This is the back of our onion. Cut the front off. Open up the top. And now you want to cut in to the back. Now, the reason we keep that back piece on is because it helps us get a little bit of stability if we're going to be doing dices. So right now, I'm just cutting in from front to back, and then I'm going to go across top to bottom. Now, top to bottom. Now, say, for instance, I wanted these to be a little smaller, I would cut more lines. If I wanted them to be larger, I would cut less lines. But literally, just by keeping that back on, cutting in, and then cutting across the top, we end up with simple dices of onions that we can use in almost any dish. Now, the next thing we're going to be doing is we're going to have a little bit of mushroom. Now, I know a lot of times people are not into mushroom. I don't know, I think that's kind of sad, but what I will say is that I would offer you to explore mushrooms again from a different perspective, especially when we're adopting, exploring a plant-based lifestyle. Mushrooms add an amazing flavor, texture, and that note of umami, which is a savory note that we really tend to associate with meat on our palate, but it helps us to still experience those flavors inside of a dish. Now, I'm a little biased. I personally have been growing mushrooms for like the last 2 years. And through that process, I found so many different varieties of mushrooms that I've really just kind of come to love and actually see just how amazing mushrooms can be. Now, this right here, what we're using in this recipe is our cremini mushroom, also known as the baby Bella mushroom. It is pretty easy to find. And like with just slicing them without doing anything too complicated with these, because we want them to show up and have a nice presence in our dish. Now, everybody in the chat, let me know. I'm interested to know like what the mushroom thoughts are, how we feel about mushrooms, because I'm always amazed at the mushroom debate. So right here, what I'm doing behind me, I was heating up a pan. I'm going to actually lay these mushrooms in a pan. And the reason I'm making a point to show us laying the mushrooms, oh, I love that we have some mushroom love here. Laying these mushrooms in a pan is because this is how we're going to be able to get a nice caramelization and sear, so to say, on these, so that we don't miss that caramelization bite that we are after when we are having any type of dish. Now, the one thing I will say, a lot of times when people cook the first thing that we do is that we dump oil in the pan. Now you see I'm putting these mushrooms into a dry pan. You know why? Because we don't need oil when we're cooking. Oil does not make your food taste good. It really doesn't, is really not required. And when we're talking about having a salt, oil, sugar-free diet, it's something that's just doesn't need to be part of the regimen. And you'll notice as you explore it, it's not going to change your taste of your meals at all. So I'm going to put these in and I'm laying them down. The reason I'm being particular about doing my best not to really put things on top of each other, because like I say, I really want to get as much caramelization on these as I can. And when you start to pile them in aggressively, you start to steam them versus sear them. So I'm trying to let those cook behind me and start to break down some more of the other ingredients. So we're also going to play around with some peppers. So like I say, all about color. This is, even though it's not your traditional, say, holiday dish, we're really playing around with this idea of eating all of your colors and also adding different colors to one dish. So this is literally just a what do they call these? They call these, I think, baby peppers or something like that. Baby peppers. Now, if you didn't have access to these, you could totally just use a regular pepper. That would work too. This is just what I had, so I am adding it to our dish today. Now, as you see, I'm holding all these pieces of scraps on the side of my cutting board. And the reason I'm doing this is because when we start to explore a plant-based diet, we tend to cook more. We tend to start adding more fresh produce to our diets. And that means we are spending a little more money and investing time. And I'm just a big no waste girl. So at the end of the day, what I do with these things is I take them, I put them into a stock bag, and I freeze them. And when I get enough of them, I make a veggie broth with the pieces of my produce. Now, specifically, you can't put everything in that stock bag. What I like to put in that stock bag is the tops and seeds of peppers. I also like to do onions and onion skins. What are those? Carrots, pieces of celery, and pieces of mushroom. Those are the things that work the best in your stock bag. In addition, you can also add in some herbs. And I've been playing around with minimal, but not like too much. Like if you happen to be making your stock bag on the same day that you have like a lemon skin or something, it adds a nice little citrus note. You put all of that stuff into a pot with some water, and you literally get this yummy, like salt-free, a lot more flavorful broth than anything that you could possibly get from like a container. And what's fascinating about the stuff that they sell you in the store is like it's so high in sodium, but it's so low in flavor. But when you take literally the frozen pieces from the produce, you end up with something that's a lot more tasty, and it helps you to not waste, which is definitely something that we want to not do, considering. Another thing I love about these peppers, I know right now they're going into this dish to complement our Alfredo sauce, but I really love that these peppers act as a chip. So a lot of times I will literally take these peppers, cut them open, and like use them to like dip salsa or like guacamole with. So that's another really just cool use for these small mini peppers when you're looking for a snack, you want to crunch, but you're trying to stay away from those salt-laden chips that really aren't really part of that are not a part of a whole food plant-based lifestyle diet. So that's something else. Another thing I love to do with these mini peppers, I take these mini peppers all the time, cover them in a little bit of garlic, a little curry powder, and literally add them, put them in the oven on a cookie sheet, roast them down, and then like just eat them plain or have them like dipped in hummus. So that's just some other ways that we can be adding more vegetables to our diet and creative, fun ways. And also, like a lot of times we buy things, right? You buy something and then you're like, I bought all this produce and I haven't used it. What am I going to do? And we don't want to be throwing stuff in the trash, like especially considering how like powerful, and I like to always remind us, expensive just food is in general, and we don't want to be wasteful. So just having these types of simple ways to make sure that we're going to continue to not waste, but consume all of the good stuff that we're bringing into our house. I just always like to share some simple ideas in that way. So we're almost done cutting these peppers up, and I can smell. I wish smell-o-vision was a thing. We figured out how to get, the visual part of cooking demos there, but we haven't quite gotten technologically ready for smells. But these mushrooms are cooking down nicely. They smell great. What I'm about to do is add just a little bit of water to just loosen them up. And as you see, they shrunk down a little bit because there's a high water content in mushrooms. Shrunk down a little bit without the oil. I just used a little pasta water because that's what was available, but you could use some broth if you had that available. And as you see, I did not put any oil in. And let me try to get this steam out of the camera, but you see the caramelization still ended up on these mushrooms without any oil. So just to prove that we don't need oil to get caramelization. And you also notice that the whole time that these mushrooms are cooking down behind me, I was doing something else. I wasn't over the pot stirring it and doing a bunch of work. A lot of times we feel like, oh yeah, I'm cooking, I'm stirring, let me just get into the pot. Don't do that, especially when you want to get some caramelization. We don't want to disrupt the caramelization process. And when we're stirring, we're not allowing that to happen. So that's just another tip to help you take your plant-based cooking to the next level, because these are the reasons why we sometimes convince ourselves that we don't like plant-based food. Oh, I don't like it. It doesn't have enough texture, it doesn't have enough flavor. So these are just some ways for us to make sure that we're enjoying all the things that we put into our mouths. All right, so I just cut the last bit of these peppers. I'm going to throw those into the pot as well behind me. Get those breaking down. And we're going to start working next on the good old Alfredo sauce. So right here, what we're using is tahini. Now, tahini is a sesame seed-based paste. A lot of times we know tahini from its role in hummus, which is the chickpea dish that's known for is the Mediterranean chickpea dish, tahini. Now, say for instance, hey, I'm interested in this plant-based life. I bought some tahini because I wanted to make my own hummus, but then I had this whole jar of tahini left. What do I do with it, Brandy? I can't eat that much hummus. We can play around with tahini as the base for a cheese sauce. So the creaminess and the tanginess of this sauce lends itself perfectly to a cheese sauce. And when we are creating flavors in a plant-based space, it's all about making sure that you are leveraging the textures of the plant or the grain and building in the flavor profile that you're after. So good old tahini gives us that creaminess that we're after in, say, an Alfredo or like a cheesy sauce. I've also reserved some of the pasta liquid from the noodles that were prepared earlier. So I'm going to add that in just to thin it out, and you guys can kind of see how this will loosen up just a bit. And then when we add it back to the pot, it's going to cook, thicken up just a little bit. Now, one of the flavors, like I say, there's like a tanginess inside of cheese. I always say there's something called the stank. And the reason I say the stank is actually a flavor note is because cheese is created, it's molded. So the whole process of taking it is molded congealed milk. So we want to kind of get stank in there. Now, sometimes I will use apple cider vinegar to achieve the stank. For this particular recipe though, I use lemon. And the reason I use lemon is because I just think lemon and pasta just goes really well together. And it still gives you a little bit of brightness that we have, that we're expecting, and you still get the quote unquote stank. So we're also going to add in some good old garlic powder. Garlic powder gives us a nice note. And also, who doesn't love garlic, lemon, and pasta? It just seems like those things should not exist without one another. A little bit of pepper. And then something that a lot of people have probably heard about, because it's pretty common these days, is good old nutritional yeast. Now, nutritional yeast is one of the like, it's like in the vegan people survivor kit or something. People are always yelling about the greatness of nutritional yeast. Now, I have to be honest when I talk about nutritional yeast. Nutritional yeast on its own does nothing for me. Like I know people who just like take nutritional yeast, sprinkle it on some, what do you call it? Sprinkle it on some popcorn or sprinkle it on some food and just eat it. I don't like nutritional yeast in that way. But what I will say is that nutritional yeast is an amazing player in creating a cheesy note and something that you want to remind you of cheese. So I'm not saying, you know, don't give it a try. Give it a try on its own. If you're ambitious, go crazy. But I like to fair warn you, I find that it works better when you're mixing it in and it becomes part of a family, part of a collection. So this goes well with, you could make a little Parmesan. Sometimes I've taken the nutritional yeast with some hemp seeds, a little bit of garlic and onion powder, and then finish off like the top of a dish, look like a plate on a Parmesan, and it does really well there. Now you see we added in those good old ingredients just to kind of get the base of our Alfredo sauce. It's nice and creamy. I'm going to bring over our pot. Our good old veggies are cooking down. We still want to have some texture. I'm really big on making sure that we have texture. That's a big deal to me. And also to add even more color, flavor, and festivity. This is just a little bit of frozen spinach. And these are some chopped, what is this? Butternut squash. Now, I know a lot of times we're thinking like, oh, like this is a lot of work. Like I have to cut all of these vegetables. I have to do all this stuff. No, there is an exception to the rule when we're talking about adding packaged food to our plant-based lifestyle. And that is things like frozen vegetables. Frozen vegetables are definitely something that as long as when you read your package, right, you're literally just seeing the ingredient, which is in this case, butternut squash. Like that's it. There's no oil added. There's no sugar added. There's nothing else added. This is totally fine because ultimately the goal is to get you to eat it, to actually, you know, bring it into your life. And if you need to find little hacks and different ways to do that, it's okay. So those are some of the exceptions as far as that is concerned. Yeah. All right, so I think we are good to go here. I'm gonna add in our good old creamy sauce, and you see like this, there's a nice creaminess to it. Also, if for some reason you can't find tahini, I've actually done this recipe as well with hummus. Like it actually works well with garlic hummus too. You're not going to have quite the body because the chickpeas are going to make it a little lighter. However, you're still going to get the flavor, and you're going to get some added protein because the chickpeas are in there as well. And we mix this in. And I made some pre-cooked whole wheat pasta. And as I'm sure you guys have learned through this experience, carbs are not something that we need to necessarily be worried about. We don't need to necessarily worry about carbs in the sense, because as long as we're getting enough fiber, we're still going to be able to have our carbs as long as they're whole, of course, not refined, even if you happen to have diabetes. So we see like it's creamy. This is definitely, like I say, a note that we feel like we're going to have to give up if we give up. Oh no, I'm not going to have cheese. You don't need cheese to get creamy. This is also for as much as I've never been to a Thanksgiving meal where they showed up with a creamy festive Alfredo sauce. But I think if you showed up with this, right, it's colorful, it's inviting, it's flavorful, you would not get too much pushback and people would be very open to try it. It's also relatively quick. it's something that you could make quickly. I just added a little more garlic powder, and I personally love a little bit of heat. Anytime I make like some type of cream sauce, it just makes me happy. So I'm gonna add that, mix that in. Always when we're talking about food, it's all about what it is that you like. And you can literally make anything plant-based with a little bit of trial and error. I will give you a heads up there. Now, I have also taken this this sauce here, this creamy Alfredo sauce, and built kind of a mac and cheese sauce with it before. And what I did when I did it for mac and cheese, I added a little bit of white wine, and I blended it in the blender with a roasted red pepper. So you end up getting that sweet note that we're after, and like that type of cheese. And also you get the color that you want for a mac and cheese. So guys, this is literally a simple, colorful tahini Alfredo sauce with whole wheat pasta. And I wanted to make sure that we left time for questions. So if you have any questions about things that you are interested in creating in the plant-based space, challenges that you may be having, something that you want to add to the Thanksgiving menu that you're like, oh my goodness, I don't know how to convert it, I'm here to answer those questions. So shoot.
Chef Brandy, I wanted to ask, this is Karen. I wanted to ask, can I make my own tahini? I have a brand that I love.
Uh-huh.
Sometimes I don't have time to run out to the store. Could I take just sesame seeds and make my own tahini?
You can. Tell me what you have. Like, do you have what type of blender do you have?
Actually, I have a NutriBullet.
Okay. You can. You have to put a lot. I will say you can do it, but you have to put a lot of sesame seeds in so that it catches.
Okay.
And don't get discouraged because it's going to take quite a bit of time to like break them down.
Okay. Now.
So like you just keep kind of going, and eventually they're going to like break down, and you're going to end up with some tahini. And you may have to scrape the side of the NutriBullet during that process to kind of get it, continue to allow it to catch. But you actually can make your own paste.
It is not, it looks good.
Uh-huh.
So when I saw her do, it wouldn't be to my taste. It's
Say that one more time.
It's yellow, red, whatever, and mushroom and onions, and then it's tossed. But what is, Be what? Hearing me?
Yeah. You watching a video? Our video?
Yeah, they can't hear me.
We can.
Yeah.
I thought somebody was asking a question.
I thought somebody was asking a question too. Thank you so much, Chef Brandy. Patricia, did you get your question answered? I see your hand is raised.
No, I didn't. Chef Brandy, I really love the presentation of the demo of the dish. It looks very delicious, but I wondered, instead of using the whole wheat pasta, can you substitute that with spaghetti squash as a substitute for the pasta?
Yes, you could. Yes, you could do it with a spaghetti squash. You could do it with like a zoodle. So like if you wanted to do a like you take the zucchini noodles, you could also do it with any type of pasta. So we're talking the red bean pasta, the quinoa pasta, any pasta. What I will say is that if you are going to be using a gluten-free pasta, to rinse it after you cook it. So when you use regular gluten-based pasta, you don't rinse it because you because that starch that was activated actually helps the sauce to best stick to it. So you don't want to rinse it, right? But if you're using a gluten-free pasta, if you don't rinse it, then it gets gummy and they kind of clump together. So you want to make sure that you're rinsing it. And if you're doing a veggie noodle, you just want to put that in last, like after you cook everything down, put that into your pot last so that you have that distinction of textures between the vegetables that are playing the role as noodles versus the ones that are playing a role as supporting sauce, so to say.
Okay, so now is there any way that you can actually, maybe through Tara, send the link or recipe for the recipe for the sauce itself?
I
Is there a
can.
way we can, because
Yes.
I really would like to try that. It really
Yes.
looks delicious. But thank you.
Thank you. Any
more
other
questions?
questions?
Any more questions for Chef Brandy?
Oh, what brand of pasta?
Oh, this happens to be Wegmans pasta that I used in this particular one. It's just a whole wheat linguine pasta from Wegmans. But literally, any whole wheat pasta. I'm not a brand specific person. I'm an ingredient person. So literally, as long as the only ingredient is wheat, you're good to go.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Chef Brandy, thank you so much for your amazing presentation. We greatly appreciate that delicious dish that you demoed for us.
Thank you. And thank you so much, Karen and Stonebridge, for having me. And I'm really just excited to always help make plant-based living exciting and interesting, because when you pick this lifestyle, if you want it to be consistent, it's gotta be interesting. Otherwise it gets boring.
Little.
You're sleepy?
Definitely. If anybody is not asking a question currently, we ask you to mute. Miss Salima Ellis, your hand raised. Feel free to ask your question.
Yes, good afternoon. It was a pleasure watching your demo.
Thank you.
In the realm, because I'm a herbalist, what would you consider your healthy go-to food in the realm of your plant-based diet? Like when you don't feel good, because some people like onions, some people like oranges. It really depends on them. So what would be your go-to when you're feeling?
Yeah, mine is literally oranges and ginger. Orange, ginger, lemon has to probably be my go-to. I also am a bit of a herbalist too, and I like adding golden seal into the mix in the event that I'm trying to catch something before it kind of wreaks havoc in my body. But just food alone, it tends to be oranges, lemons, and ginger. Like every morning, I actually have just a straight ginger and lemon shot. It's just something that I do. And then I have, like I told you guys, I grow mushrooms, so I'm a bit obsessed with mushrooms right now. So I've been taking a couple of mushroom tinctures as well, and then also next followed by water. So that's my top of the day kind of wellness philosophy, in addition to following a whole food plant-based diet.
Well, thank you. That was quite interesting.
You're welcome.
I often run into people that just want the tea to be, but I don't know how to get them to understand it's not just the tea that helps you, it's what you're taking in all together.
Yeah, definitely. And speaking of tea, thanks for bringing up that to mind. Somebody had talked about how they were struggling with taking sugar out of tea, like they have a sweet tooth, and they add an agave, but it really wasn't doing anything. But they want to think there is a tea by a company called Good Earth, and it's called Sweet and Spicy. And that sweet and spicy tea is something that I've told clients before in the past who have been trying to lower their sugar palate and eliminate sugar to use in that way. So you can take that tea bag, put it in with your tea. And even though there's no sugar in it, the blend of spices and dried orange peels that they have in that tea blend really does give you the reminiscence of sugar. Yeah, somebody says, yeah, that tea is the truth. It really is. In the summertime, I ice it a lot. I just think it's just that tea is iced, and I add a little bit of vanilla to it because I like the vanilla note.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Cool. Anybody else? Well, thank you again so much, Chef Brandy, for that amazing demonstration. Is there any chance we might be able to get those recipes?
Yes, I will send. I will send
awesome.
the recipe to you for the sauce.
Awesome.
Now, like I say, the sauce I have the recipe for. As far as the pasta, I'll give you just what this one is. But remember, the sauce is kind of the star. You could use penne pasta, whatever pasta, that's your choice. If you like the bow tie better than the noodles, go crazy. And the same with veggies, like have fun. So if you don't like mushrooms, don't put mushrooms in. If you don't like red peppers, but you like yellow peppers or you prefer green peppers, put those in. We just want to make sure that we're getting as many vegetables as we possibly can packed into this dish with the creamy Alfredo sauce, and then whatever noodle kind of floats your boat. Cool. All right, guys. Thanks again for having me. This was great as always.
Thank you, Chef Brandy.
Thank you, Karen.
We are going to take a 5-minute break right now. So if anybody doesn't have any questions, feel free to step away for a minute, stretch your legs, all that great stuff, and we will be back in 5 minutes. Okay, everybody, we are back and we'll get ready. Is everybody back with us? Thank you. Our next presenter is Kimbereley Blackwell. Kimbereley holds a Bachelor's of Science degree in dance education from Southern Illinois University. She also holds a master's in social work and is a licensed clinical social worker from Loyola University at Chicago. She also holds a Master's of Arts in Education Leadership from Olivet University and is a certified health coach. Kim has been a school social worker for more than 20 years. During that time, she has counseled with children and families individually and in groups to address a multitude of social situations and crises. She has worked with students on coping skills to address anger, anxiety, depression, and school fears. She utilizes a strength-based approach, which entails the spirit of empathy, sensitivity, and self-discovery to guide one through the door of purpose in their own lives. Kim's own awareness encompasses a healthy lifestyle that is complemented by the art of meditation and yoga. And with that, I will turn it over. Thank you so much for joining us. I will stop sharing.
Thank you for having me. Good morning and good afternoon, everyone.
Hello. Good morning.
Grand Risings.
Oh, I'm doing pretty good. Just a little nervous, but I'm good. So we wanted to talk about diabetes and mental health. And so I wanted to give just a little overview of what I'm going to be talking about today. So our thoughts, feelings, and attitudes and beliefs affect how we view our world and the health of our body, mind, and well-being. And it's so interesting because sometimes we don't think about that triangle of our thoughts, our feelings, beliefs, attitudes, and then also how that affects our behavior. And so when we think about our thoughts, we're thinking about, what a person believes about a situation, and how that person may interpret that situation or event. And then how those thoughts evoke certain feelings about that situation. So, and of course, we know that our feelings and our emotions many times dictates how we act and dictates our behavior. And so paying attention and being mindful and conscious of our thoughts, feelings, and then how we respond to that is so important when we are having to face a life event. And so people with diabetes and living with diabetes are at a greater risk of developing depression, anxiety, and eating disorders. And then this can also lead to complications with diabetes, meaning such as stroke or blindness. And there's a lot of other things that can go on with diabetes, and ultimately even a premature death. And I think when we get into anxiety, that's what that's all about. It's the excessive fear of knowing some of the risk that come along with having diabetes. According to the CDC, depression, anxiety and diabetes distress are the most common concerns regarding diabetes and mental health. So therefore, it is important that individuals diagnosed with diabetes also be assessed for mental health wellness. And so as we know that this is we have our physical body, we have our mental body, we have our emotional body. It's all one body. And so that's how we have to look at it from a holistic perspective. What is depression? So we have a clinical definition of what depression is. Depression is a disturbance in mood that lasts over a long period of time and are characterized by various features. And so what happens is that there's certain criteria that a person has to meet in order to have a diagnosis of depression. And some of those features include sadness or feelings of emptiness on almost a daily basis, the lack of interest or pleasure in most or all of our daily activities. There's significant weight loss when not dieting, or even weight gain within a month. So it has to be significant. There's a lack of sleep due to insomnia or sleeping too much, difficulty concentrating and making decisions, feeling tired, loss of energy, again, which would also contribute to some of the things like lack of exercise, not monitoring what we eat. So those are definitely direct links to depression and diabetes. The feelings of hopelessness, irritability, anxiousness, and guilt. There's also physical symptoms such as headaches, body pain, digestive problems, again, and that contributes to like higher blood pressure, digestive problems in terms of what we're inputting into our bodies. So those are really big red flags when it comes to looking at a diagnosis of depression. The National Institute estimates that there's 12% of patients diagnosed with diabetes that develop major depression disorder. And while milder types of depression are reported to be about 15 to 35%. So it's lower with the major depression, but still there's still a great number of individuals that are reported to have milder symptoms of depression. There are studies that also show that an individual who has a history of depression is also at greater risk of developing diabetes later in life. And the reason being, as we saw just a little while ago, is that some of the criteria or features of depression include the weight loss, significant weight loss or weight gain, the loss of energy, tired, lack of motivation. And so those, a person with depression, those also play into, how we maintain our health and can lead to diabetes. So there's still a lot of research out there that's being done on that. So anxiety. With anxiety, there's excessive fear. And so there's fear and there's worry about activities, events over a long period of time that are associated with anxiety. And so some of those features look very similar to depression: fatigue, restlessness, difficulty concentrating, the irritability, sleep disturbances, sweating, increased heart rate, shortness of breath, headaches. So as you can see, some of those things are similar to the depression as well. But it's that sense of worry and fear that really, with diagnosis of diabetes, that really can affect how a person is able to manage their diabetes, because it's definitely the fear of, the unknown of, what if I don't, exercise? What if I don't, have to, if I don't watch what I eat? If, what if I do all these things and I still, end up getting sick? Or, so those are things that definitely go along with the anxiety. So serious anxiety disorders occur with the fear, of course, with the low blood sugar. And so when we are stressed, and we all know what stress can do, we usually don't take good care of ourselves. And yes, I'm guilty of it as well. As much as I like to think I manage my stress pretty good, but there's times when, my plate gets full as well. So when we're stressed, blood sugar levels can rise or fall at any time. It can also cause other health problems as well. So we definitely have to be mindful and keep our stress in check. If you're feeling overwhelmed or feel you might have depression or anxiety, I strongly recommend that you contact your doctor or your healthcare professional immediately. And it's also important to maintain a healthy quality of life, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. Again, we want to make sure that we're taking care of our whole self, not just part of ourself, but our whole self. And so, what I wanted to kind of get into a little bit more today is about the diabetes distress, because the diabetes distress, according to the CDC, a person may appear to be depressed or anxious, but doesn't quite meet the criteria for a clinical diagnosis of, say, like major depressive disorder. And so diabetes distress is the overwhelming feelings of being diabetic and all the things that go along with it. So what happens is that sometimes we start thinking about, all the things like I had mentioned before, what can happen? Why did I have to have this? I thought I was doing really well keeping up with my health, and you know what I'm saying? So there's so many questions and so many thoughts that come up. It can cause you to slip into, cause a person to slip into unhealthy habits, kind of go into denial. So, I'm going to continue doing what I've been doing. I'm fine, stop taking their medication, start missing doctor's appointments. And then all of those behaviors are related to feelings, to how a person relates, how they're feeling about this whole thing. So then you get feelings of anger. We also have feelings of loss, because we've absolutely have experienced a loss of what used to be. And so sometimes that doesn't get acknowledged. Acknowledging the fact that, we have to make some changes, you know what I'm saying? And we're talking about if you're trying to increase or to live a healthier lifestyle. And so there's some things that we may have to give up. And because of that, we really have to allow ourselves the space to be able to grieve those things that we can no longer do. And so I think that's where, we really have to pay attention to that. This is so what are some things that we can do? And so I've talked about this triangle of our thoughts, how our thoughts affect our feelings, and how our feelings affect our behavior. And so really paying attention to that. So just a quick little example. So let's say you're walking down the street and you see somebody walking across the street, and you wave at them, you smile, and they don't respond. And so what do you think? They just keep walking, don't acknowledge you. So the first thing, then you start thinking, well, what's wrong with that person? I know they saw me. I know. So then we start having these feelings after we start having these different thoughts. Did I do something to upset that person? Are they mad at me? So then you start having feelings of maybe some anger, maybe some sadness, maybe some curiosity, little disappointment. So then what happens? Then that can affect how you respond to that person. Will you reach out to that person and contact that person? Or will you just totally ignore them? So that's just a little example of how our thoughts, our feelings, and our interact with our behavior. And so all of those things intertwine with one another. And so with diabetes, even having an event such as diabetes, and then we start having all these different beliefs and thoughts, and then we think about the consequences, and these feelings begin to arise in regards to our thoughts and beliefs. And then we begin to determine how we're going to behave. Are we going to follow our doctor's orders? Are we going to begin to take care of ourselves? And so that's where that interplay is so critical in terms of how we manage our diabetes. And so what are some things that we can do? Lots and lots of things that we can do. And the thing is that we can't do everything all at the same time. So we have to be kind to ourselves. Pay attention to your feelings. If you're feeling sad a lot, having difficulty concentrating, if you're feeling like you're irritable, you just don't want to be bothered, really, really, really reach out to your healthcare provider. It's so important. And it's also really important to, if you're in a support group, to reach out to others that are also having those kind of experiences and talk to them about what they're doing and how they're managing. Be sure that when you do talk to your doctor or your healthcare provider, that you let them know everything that you're experiencing. And that may include, if you're having difficulty just managing every day, and, even managing your friends and family, relatives, and dealing with their view of the situation. So just, be open. I think that that's really what's important here. And then ask if help is available for like the cost of medicine, supplies. So you really want to, advocate for yourself, and get help where you need it. And just know that you're not in this by yourself, and talk to your family and friends, people that you're close to, and let them know, what you need, because what I find is that, most people do want to help. And so I think that we have to be mindful and allow them to help us, because it does take a village. No man is an island. We're all here, we're all connected. And so you want to allow your loved ones to help take care of you, and assist you as needed. It's not like you need hand holding or anything, and if you do, you do. But if you don't, you know what you need and what you don't need. So just being able to articulate that is really important. Um, Sometimes the people around you can also stress you. So, being aware of that too, knowing what your stressors are, and then making a point to make sure that you don't allow yourself to be in those stressful situations. And then not taking on too much. The other thing that I've learned is that, just me personally, and I share, is that get familiar with no. Sometimes we just have to learn how to just draw those boundaries and be okay with no. No, I can't do that. No, I'm not willing to do that. So really just getting familiar, not even familiar, but really inviting no to come in and have a seat sometimes, because that really helps protect us. And so I think that that's really, really important, to do that. And then set goals for yourself. And so change happens incrementally, as we know. So change is slow. I always say take baby steps. We talk about, you know, acquiring a vegetarian diet or vegan diet, or an Ayurvedic lifestyle, or, just making all these big changes so that we can be healthy and do the things that we like to do. But we need to do those in baby steps. And I can share with you just my own personal experience as far as taking baby steps. So, yes, I'm a vegetarian now, but it has been a process. So, the first thing I gave up was beef and pork, and that was probably over 20 years ago. So, the only thing I was eating after that was chicken and fish, and turkey. You know what I'm saying? So, it's like, and then when I gave up the turkey, then I gave up the chicken, and that was not easy, but it was something that I really desired to do. And I found that it was easier than I thought it would be. But by then I had gone through, this whole thing in my own mind about, this is something that I want to do, but I didn't force it. And so that's the point here, is that you don't force it. So you set a goal, and you're taking your baby steps, and okay, so so you fall down, so yeah, I had to fall off the wagon for a minute, but the point isn't so much about falling off, it's about getting back up and then getting back on track. And so and we have to be kind to ourselves through that process. And so take that time to enjoy the things that you love, your activities with friends, working on projects, reading, resting, whatever it is, traveling, meditation, yoga, mindfulness, whatever it is that you really enjoy and that you love to do, just take the time to do that. Take care of your mental well-being. It's so important that we take care of ourselves. With COVID and this whole everything that we've been going through, it just seems like everything is so different. It's a lot of angry people. There's a lot of just, kind of negativity in the air. And so I think it's really forcing us to really take a look within, to really check ourselves, and just to make sure that we're taking care of ourselves. And so, one of the things, I do practice meditation. And so So I'd like to do a little exercise with you, a meditation exercise, just breathing. So one of the things that I find just watching the breath is so relaxing. It's almost like, when we get all worked up, then we cut off the oxygen going to the brain. So by the time, especially when we're upset, so by the time, something happens and we get angry, then the next thing you know, we're on 10. And so we've cut off all the oxygen to the brain and we're gone. So one of the things that I really like to do is just really take that time, that quiet time, to watch the breath. And so I'd like to share an exercise with you, if everybody is willing and want to try it. We're just sitting. And I'm going to close the door here. So if you don't mind, if you can sit up straight, kind of with your hands on your lap, and close your eyes. And I'm going to walk you through a short meditation. So if you can just close your eyes. And I want you to just breathe normally. Just breathe. Just breathe. Just breathe. We're just breathing normally. And just pay attention to your breath. Just watch your breath. We're inhaling, exhaling. Watch the breath. And if you're having any thoughts, just say goodbye to those thoughts. Because we're inhaling, exhaling. Just watch the breath. Watch the breath. We're going to do an inhale. We're going to just hold it. Then we will do an exhale. And we will hold it. And we will repeat it. And so we're going to inhale love. And we're going to exhale peace. Inhale love. Hold. Exhale peace. Hold. Inhale love. Hold. Exhale peace. Inhale love. Exhale peace. Inhale love. Exhale peace. One more time. Inhale love. Exhale peace. Just breathe. Normal breathing. Slowly open your eyes. And I thank you for this opportunity. May we all be well. May we all be healthy. May we all be mindful. And may we all be loving and kind and generous. On the last page, I did include a list of some stress busters. If anybody would like a copy, I can definitely make sure I get a copy to Millicent, and she can get those out to everyone. If you want to go to the next page, I think it's on there after resources. Nope. Okay. All righty. Thank you all. Does anyone have any questions?
Any questions for Kimbereley? All right. Well, Kimbereley, thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate. I feel so nice and relaxed after your presentation today, and I'm hoping everybody else feels the same. But thank you so much. So I'm going to stop sharing right now, and so we're actually coming to the close of our program for today. So my name is Tara Allen. I'm one of the board members of Stonebridge Healthy Community Outreach Initiative. And I just want to personally thank everyone who joined us today. I want to also give a special thanks to our presenters today, Lisa Smith, Chef Brandy, Kimbereley Blackwell. We appreciate you ladies. I mean, it was such a well-rounded program in that we talked about the body first, and then we ended with the mind. And we know after all these years that there's definitely a mind-body connection. And so, what affects your body can affect the mind, and what affects the mind can affect the body. So we appreciate you ladies for sharing your knowledge with us today. And we're going to do a poll later, but what I wanted to do, give me a second. I wanted to go ahead and let you all know we have some upcoming events for Stonebridge. And so I'm going to bring those up in a second. But did anybody have any questions before we end today? Any questions, any thoughts? We're bringing up, so we are Stonebridge Healthy Community Outreach Initiative. We have some events coming up, one of which will be our Creative Health and Fitness Club event, which will be starting January of next year. This program is open to everyone, from families to singles, and it's a program in which we discuss nutrition, and then we also include the cooking demonstration. So very similar to what you all got today. So that's our Creative Health and Fitness Club. And then for Thanksgiving, we will be helping families with Thanksgiving baskets. So if you are interested in helping us to help others, please reach out to us. You can reach us by Facebook, you can go to our website, or you can email us. So please feel free to help with that. So right now I am going to bring up our poll. So I'm going to bring that up and I am going to launch that. And if everyone could take the time to go ahead and do that poll for us, we would greatly appreciate it. Again, thank you all for taking the time out of your busy schedule, for those of you who joined us last week, we had the 4 doctors. We had Dr. Goodwin, endocrinologist, Dr. Spicer, podiatrist. Then we had Dr. Ansel Johnson, optometrist, as well as Dr. April Kennedy, our nephrologist. If you get a chance, please look at that video from last week. If you were not able to join us last week, we do have a YouTube channel and you can view that. And I believe every participant today received the link for that video. So please, if you can, take a look at last week's video. And I know you all enjoyed this week's presentation. Again, I'm telling you, my heart is full from all the information that I received, and I'm hoping that you all feel the same. And so what I want to encourage you all to do is please join us next year. So this is an annual event for us. It's an annual event for us, and we are definitely going to, I'm sorry, it looks like the poll, this is the poll for last week. Millicent, can you bring up the poll for this week, please? I'm sorry, I thought I
Give
am
me
so
one
sorry.
second.
I'm
I
gonna
will.
launch
No,
it. I'm sorry. So I apologize,
yeah.
everyone. The part 2, I just launched that, so I apologize for that. So we just launched part 2, so that this is for today. I apologize for that. So if you all can go ahead. But this is an annual event, so if you can, please join us next year. We're going to do it again, and we're hoping that you all will be able to join us again as we try to share information on diabetes, diabetes prevention, and how to manage this in our community. So I'm gonna let everybody finish the poll, and then we will be ending shortly. So again, please, you can find us on Facebook. You know, you have our email. You also can go to our website and get more information on Stonebridge Healthy Community Outreach Initiative. Thanks again for joining us today. Really appreciate you all taking time out of your busy schedule. And again, thanks to all of our speakers over the past 2 Saturdays. So I'm gonna let you all finish up with the poll, then I'm gonna end it. Please enjoy the rest of your weekend. Again, thank you, thank you, thank you, and have a wonderful day. Goodbye, everyone.